Hello friends of my channel. I made a video the other day talking about that I'm in an avoidant process, meaning that currently I was avoidant. I was feeling like I just want to be left alone, people are too needy, and I would find reasons to cut people off, men that I was talking to online, and to get annoyed easily and be like, if this person isn't the way I want, I'm just gonna cut them off right now. Realizing this started me thinking, and I want to tell you how I've resolved this so far. There may be more work to do, but I started thinking about where that comes from and how I was perceiving the person I'm speaking to. The reason I cut people off online very quickly, like the guy that said, have a good week, beautiful, lowercase, was kind of a defense strategy. I was treating him the same way I was treating him based on how I thought he would be based on experiences I had in the past. So I was carrying my past into the present. That's the first mistake. Second, I had the perception that the person I'm talking to is not safe until they prove they're safe. If I tell them how I feel, they will either abandon me, get angry with me, or not care. I had that sign-up call with the coach I'm working with, Catherine Daniele, and she pointed out to me that all I have to do is tell men how I want to be treated. Like, if I don't want someone to call me beautiful, just tell them that. I'm like, oh, I could do that. So some of it is me never having seen this modeled for me. Like, oh, I can just tell guys how I feel and they'll like it. And if they don't like it, they'll disappear, and that's fine. That's what I've been doing, and it's been going so well. I probably have like a dozen situations that I could give as examples of where I've done this, where a few days ago I would have just like cut somebody off, got really annoyed, got really triggered. The switch I made internally was I was responding to these men online as though I was a little child and they were my parent who was going to punish me, abandon me, not care how I felt. By the way, I wasn't abused. My parents loved me. However, they were preoccupied and were not a place I could bring my emotions. So I learned emotions weren't safe. I can't tell people how I feel. If I tell people how I feel, they'll be angry with me. They'll abandon me. They'll reject me. All right, even though they loved me, there was not that. I didn't develop that practice on sharing my emotions. However, I'm an adult now. All right, I'm not a little kid. So instead of subconsciously seeing these people as a parent that would reject me, I was like, that's an interesting realization. Well, what if I behave as if that person is safe? Let me just behave as if that person is safe and cares what I want. And let me try what Catherine suggested, telling them what I want, telling them how I feel. Let me just try that. And guess what? It's worked so great. It's worked so great. And what I've been doing with these guys is saying, I like a man who, I would prefer this. This is when I'm available. And just using these I statements. And the results have been fabulous because they either will agree with me or they won't want it. And I even had one conversation with someone earlier that I'm going to do a video call with today, who was like, I suggested a video call and he asked me for some options and I said noon or tomorrow, and he said, let's try for noon. Now, I got a little triggered around let's try for noon. So I used my new approach. And I said, I don't like I'd like to schedule a call. I don't like let's try. I had no idea if I should be ready noon or not. He didn't reply, and I started feeling like a little agitated now, but want to be my new me, so I just waited for his reply. And then he came back with, it sounds a little bit controlling. So I was like, I guess he got a little triggered. Why don't I, instead of being avoidant, being like, yeah, you just want it your way, I'm not controlling, I decided, based on attachment styles, why don't I act like I'm securely attached and just realize this guy's triggered right now. Maybe I can calm him down a little bit. Let me be the adult here. So I said, these are the times I would love to have a video call with you, and these are the times I am available. Evenings between 6 and 8 during the week. I like to schedule a call so I can be present with you and be wearing a pretty dress for you. He liked that. He said, oh my God, let's do noon. And I said, I will be ready and waiting for your call. This is a whole new me because, instead of being the one who reacts, I can also be the one to calm things down by reassuring the other person a little bit. Because sometimes people just get, now I don't know if I want to date this gentleman, but he had sent me some really great messages, and he has a good profile, and he's around my age, and he lives locally. So, you know, I wanted to invest that little bit in him and just see how it went. And he responded beautifully. I had a bunch of younger guys in their 20s who were messaging me from other states nearby, like Las Vegas or from Los Angeles. And, you know, oh, I just really want to meet you. And they're talking to me. And I'm just talking to them because one of my new friends told me, you don't have to date every guy you meet. You can just be friends with them. So I'm just talking to them as if I could be friends. And then I said to the one gentleman, well, I don't really know how we could date. I'm looking for someone who lives locally within 20 minutes. And he said, well, I come to San Diego all the time. You know, I would love to meet you. And I said, well, do you have a house here? Because if we wanted to cook dinner together, where would we do that? He said, oh, we'll figure that out. I'll make it work, baby. I really want to meet you. You're so beautiful. We'll figure that out. I'll make it happen. And I said, I date men who have a place to invite, who have a home to invite me to. That is one of my standards. I didn't say, you're lying, you're just leading me on, you don't have it together. I said, I date men who have a home to invite me to. That is a standard for me. I'm not going to date someone who's just like visiting here occasionally, or lives in the barracks, or, you know, lives with his elderly parents and can't invite me over. I want a man who can invite me to his home and we can cook dinner there, you know. It's like, oh, here's my number, baby, if you change my mind, if you change your mind, you know. And I said, you know, let me show you, you know. And I said, I'm not looking for someone to change my mind or to show me. I'm looking for proof that you have what I want. You know, I'm looking for evidence. And I'm using all these I statements. This is what I want, without making them wrong, without judging them. And it's going a lot better for me. So instead of cutting them off and being so reactive, I'm just like, okay, so the bottom line with all these examples is this. I'm going to assume that you're safe. I'm going to assume that you're nice. I'm going to assume that you have my best interests at heart. And I'm going to act from that place. And I'm going to have the right in myself to express my wants, my needs, my feelings, my desires. So in another case, so I'm telling these gentlemen when they're saying, how's your day going? Well, I'm reading on my balcony, the rain is falling, I'm reading a book, I have, you know, this going on today. So I'm just being more open, more vulnerable, more trusting. And I'll tell you, it's like, requires a shifting of the mindset to see other people as safe. It requires building new neurons and new muscles, because I've gone through life in one way. I had become over the years more and more guarded, more and more rigid, and it's about using a new muscle, developing new muscles. Just like right now, I'm working a lot on my back muscles so I can do the back bend. It's easy to do a back bend when you're just leaning off the legs, but to push up from my arms with my legs staying firm hasn't been that easy. So we've been doing a lot of work in all of my trainings, Pilates and at the gym, on these muscles back here on my shoulders, which I want to say they're pretty strong already. I don't know if you can tell, but not strong enough to lift off. And in the same way, like, we have certain ways of being emotionally and mentally that are just fixed, and we have to strengthen new ways of being and new muscles. And that's like getting out of our fucking comfort zone. And I just wanted to share with you that I'm making progress in getting out of my avoidant. And there are other things I've done. I went out with a new friend yesterday, and I texted her this morning telling her all the things I liked about her and what a contribution she's been. And I finished it with, and that's me not being avoidant. So leaning in, sharing my feelings, and not acting like that little kid talking to my parents, where every person I'm talking to is representing my parent, that it wasn't safe to share my feelings because I was shamed for it. I was shamed for showing my feelings. I was punished for showing my feelings, because not because they were bad, but for people who are uncomfortable with their own feelings, they can't hold space for your feelings. And that's just how it was, you know. And as the world is waking up, we're having to learn to honor our feelings and be vulnerable. That's the call for this age. Not just to be sexually vulnerable, but to be emotionally vulnerable. It's easy to go around fucking a bunch of guys or fucking a bunch of women. It's a lot harder to fuck with our emotions, to be vulnerable with our emotions, to share our emotions, all right? So that's a lot more challenging than just sharing our bodies for most people, okay? It's a lot easier to share our bodies than to share our emotions, or to share our thoughts rather than our emotions. So that's what I'm doing now. And the world has to wake up. So anyway, I'm doing all that. I just wanted to share my progress with you. And I will keep you posted. If you're an avoidant, these may help for you. If you're anxiously attached, again, it's about calming your nervous system when you get anxious. Just calming yourself. Find out what you need to calm your nervous system. Find out what you need to calm yourself. Get yourself calmed down. And just remember that you're safe and nobody can abandon you. Only you can abandon you. That's the work if you're anxiously attached. Nobody can abandon you. You're safe in yourself. And when you start feeling safe and stop chasing people who hurt you, you will stop re-traumatizing yourself and look for people who treat you well. However, we all have to come from that. We all have to come from a place of wholeness and find a support system so that we're not so needy in our romantic relationships, because it's not fun to be with someone who's like using you as their source of love and supply. You know, we want to be people who share our love and who are occasionally needy, but to be constantly needy, like I can't be happy unless you're giving me attention in every moment, is not a very good way to go through life. So it's finding that balance between I'm already whole and I let myself rely on you. However, if you're not available, I know how to communicate how I feel and I can calm and soothe myself. And that's not as easy as people think. Thanks for watching my video.